What's going on, y'all? This is Mike Brown, and I just want to welcome y'all to this week's episode of The Art of Letting Go. While I have your attention, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to the podcast. Also, leave a review. Let people know what you think. Let me know what you think. I love to hear from y'all. If you would like to further support the show, we do have a Patreon, as well as some merch that's available all at theartoflettinggopodcast.com. Thank you guys for tuning in, and enjoy the show. Woke up this morning and I had to reflect on an email I got from today's guest. He said he helped me strategize with my business. He stumbled on my music on a meditation quest. So we connected, almost felt like it's instantly. All the stuff he showed me, I found it all interesting. Revenue focuses and even my efficiency. Manifesting books, collaboration was meant to be. So I told him I would bring him on the show. That's how he ended up on 174. If you're an entrepreneur or trying to build your business, this the episode you probably would want to listen. I'm on a mission to make this shit pop. I could rap all day, but I need to stop. So thank you all again for tuning into the show, and if you didn't know, it's the art of letting go. Yo, what up? This is Mike Brown, and this is the art of letting go. Today, I have a special guest in the building, and I would say a really special guest because, man, you helped me put together, just my plan of action for like the next year of business. And I'm very appreciative of that and putting it in action right now. So I wanted to bring you on the podcast, really just to talk about, connecting, collaborating, and just where we both are, entrepreneurship. Do you mind introducing yourself to the people?
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you. So my name is Jeremiah. I am an entrepreneur and brand strategist based in Phoenix, Arizona, and I help holistic practitioners and conscious business owners and other like heart-centered entrepreneurs with their brand and their mission, and kind of propelling them to where they would like to see themselves.
That's what's up. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. So right now I'm a little bit tired. I just got back from a trip, but I feel a lot of energy just being able to connect with you and be on this podcast and talk and share.
That's what's up, man. And yeah, that was dope that we got to connect while you were in LA on your trip. I kind of wanted to just go back to how we even connected just from the beginning, because I think I've never really connected with anyone that listened to my show like that before. I mean, I talk to people all the time, but like to really build a connection and a friendship with someone, it doesn't happen like that. But yeah, I'm curious to know how did you get on my music? Like, how did you even find like just anything that I was doing?
Yeah, for sure, man. That's a great question. So I think it was back in 2020. I was looking for a specific type of meditations, and I felt like everything that I was coming across online was being catered to a specific type of person, and it really wasn't resonating with me, whether that be the instrumentals in the background or kind of what was being talked about. So I ended up just, I think, doing like a Google search on Bandcamp. And I think specifically what I looked for was like trap affirmations, and Mike Brown popped up, and it was
wow.
Yeah, man. Wow. So it was I forget what the EP is called right now. Maybe, yeah, I think you can tell me better what that popped up.
It's all good.
So,
That's
yeah,
really
man.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
I'm
sorry, what were you saying?
I was just going to say I discovered you through there and felt really connected to the work that you were doing. And it really resonated with me. It spoke a language that I wasn't used to seeing in kind of like the spiritual community.
Wow, man, I appreciate that. Were you doing like meditations and stuff before that?
Yeah, definitely. So, I have been doing meditation, I would say, since around 2018. I would say that's when my spiritual awakening kind of really went full throttle. I had just
Yeah.
gotten out of a breakup, and I was in a pretty deep depression, experiencing a lot of anxiety, and I was looking for something to um, kind of help me in my journey, um, be able to overcome those feelings naturally in a holistic way. And I remember in my earlier years of college, someone introduced meditation to me, but it wasn't ever something that I fully got involved in. And once I started experiencing these really heavy feelings, somehow it came back into my vortex, and I just started doing guided meditations in the beginning, and it provided me a lot of relief.
That's really
Yeah.
dope. That's really dope. Yeah, I still use some of those breathwork techniques that you gave me, actually, because I never done breathwork before. So now I look them up in the morning time and kind of just use them before I get my day started. And I don't know, they clear me out and focus for what I want to do.
Nah, definitely. I think in more recent years, since practicing meditation, I've really been getting into breath work too. I have a client and a dear friend who is also a breathwork practitioner, and she's guided me through some journeys herself, and it's really powerful. Kind of the levels of consciousness that you're able to achieve through these sessions. And I recently went through one, probably last week, if I'm not mistaken. But it's powerful what just your breath can do, and how much you can clear with the practice. So
yeah,
I'm glad that that's kind of something I was able to put you onto and introduce you to, man. So that's really dope.
Yeah, man. I think the whole experience of working with you, and kind of just to go back to before I jump into that, going from the music to the podcast, and I clearly remember putting out an episode saying I needed help with business. It felt like a cry for help, almost like when Kanye was like, "I'm in debt," and he was trying to get his clothing business off, and he was just, letting people know where he was at, and that was like the most honest I could be, was that I didn't know what I was doing. I knew I had something, but I didn't know what to do with that something, and like you reached out directly to me, and yeah, from like the first time we connected, I just felt the energy working with you. And I think what really connected me to you was sharing my shroom experience with you, because I don't, like I said, I don't really talk to a whole lot of people about that. But yeah, sharing that experience with you definitely helped me in like opening, like feeling, one, comfortable being open with you, and two, feeling comfortable enough to like, okay, this person's not judging, so this is maybe somebody that I can work with.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that the whole way that we connected was pretty synchronistic. I before even thinking about working with you, I've been a listener to the show, and it's provided me a lot of value in my journey, as I've mentioned before. But when you did put that out into the world, I was like, you know what, damn, like I feel like I can, or I rather not, I feel like I know that I can impact, have an impact on your business, but also to make a difference in the lives of the people who are listening too, to reach more people and connect with them. So yeah, I appreciate you and just what you're doing, man.
I appreciate that, man. And kind of going into what we did together,
Mm.
You created a manifestation book for me, and
Yeah.
I would love if you could explain to the listeners what exactly that is, like what, because I'm sure, some people probably have heard of one, some people have not, but what is a manifestation book? And I would just love to hear how you could tie it all into business.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. So I think what where I'd like to begin is, so I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation is brand strategy, and I think that this is potentially like a new concept for people. And I was taught a specific framework by people in the industry who um, shared tools and resources to me to be able to facilitate different exercises to basically get you from point A to point Z in your brand and your business. And with the work that I do and the work that I seek to do with a certain type of people, I think that we're all kind of vibrating on a certain level where we understand the concept of manifestation. But I think that the internet sometimes can make it very woo woo. And I think that through these exercises that I walked you through, it allows us to really find clarity in one, the brand itself and the overall brand mission, but two, most importantly, who you're trying to connect with and how you're ultimately trying to serve them. I think that it's important to know that. And beyond that, once we build that foundation together, we're able to dive deep into creating more tangible business goals. So going back to manifesting, I think people think it's just, oh, you think it, you believe it, and you create it. But the what happens is there's a disconnect, right? Where you need to be taking actionable steps to get you there. So that's where setting tangible goals, on a specific time frame allows you to, achieve ultimately what you're looking to do with your practice, or your business, on multiple, in multiple areas when it comes to your marketing, revenue goals, coming up with ideas, things like that. And we really we took a deep dive together to really uncover some things that would be useful moving forward in this coming year. So, yeah.
Yeah, and something that really stood out to me in your work, whether you're conscious of it or not, is
Mm-hmm.
this spirituality aspect that you bring to business, because it's usually not there. And I
Mm-hmm.
think for me, that is what has always made it feel like maybe not authentic, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious to know, like, are you intentional about that with the work you do, or do you even see that in what you're doing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. It makes complete sense. So I think going back, so I mentioned, my teachers and, the people who have taught me this process. This isn't something that they do. When we went through creating this manifestation book, we went through breath work and intention setting, as well as just taking a moment to just be grateful for what we're experiencing in the now. So yes, I would say that my work is very intentional. I think that it's important to be able to connect with the right people who are in alignment to be able to kind of get on the same wavelength. So I think, the different steps in my process allow, you and I to really join forces on like a collaborative level, and really get into alignment through breath, and through creativity and through intention setting, because we're building together. So I hope that answers your question.
It did, and I appreciate you mentioning that because like all the things that you mentioned were the things that really stood out to me that made this work one valuable, but also so unique because like doing the breath work every session, setting intentions, expressing gratitude,
Hmm.
um, you know that for me is very valuable, and I guess I'm curious to know like why is the expression of gratitude important to you?
Mm. Um, I want to fill into that a little bit. I think I think that gratitude is important to me because, as I mentioned, when I was going through, my early 20s, I was going through a really hard time. And as I was uncovering different tools to bring onto my tool belt in being a successful entrepreneur, and I came across many people just talking about how gratitude is always the place that you need to begin, even when it feels like you don't have anything. So I think that has allowed me to, because I found importance in my own life, it's important for me to share that with others so they can receive the same benefits that I have, from doing the simple exercise. And it's something that, taking just 5 minutes, whether that be before your workday or before you begin a collaborative session, and just kind of express something you're grateful for, it really makes a difference, especially if you're having a hard day.
Yeah, it does. It does. Cause I for sure know there were sessions where like I may have not that I didn't want to do the work, but I may have just not been in the space starting out to
Hmm.
be in it, and
Hmm.
expressing that gratitude would kind of take me somewhere else, and I clearly remembered that. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Something that just popped in my mind to ask you, are there ever collaborations that you turn down?
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I've had to be very mindful of, because I think that because my work is very intentional, I think that if maybe, um, I think that there can be misalignment, with, me and my work. And not to say that I wouldn't love to create and build with everyone, but I think that, um, it's important to really be on a strong foundation together, because without that, I think that it makes it harder for, um, you to achieve what you're ultimately trying to do, um, especially if a lot of the practices that I'm walking you through are something that you don't connect with, if that makes sense.
It
I mean,
does.
if someone comes in open minded, then I would love to work with you, and I think that it's important. I mean, especially just with my mission, I'm really here to make an impact on the planet and the people on the planet, and I think that it's important that we're both on that same page coming into work together.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And something else that just popped in my mind as well is because like I said, you are working in, business, but
hmm.
there's a spiritual aspect to your business, and a
Hmm.
lot of people that do spiritual type work, there's this at least from my outside perception,
Hmm.
um it's almost like being an artist where you're supposed to be comfortable with not being compensated for what you're doing,
Hmm.
or to the level that you feel that you should be, like
Hmm.
I see a lot of the spiritual work either being free or, donation based or sliding scale. And those things are great, but
Right.
also I'm curious to know for you as a business person, how do you become, because that's what I'm trying to ultimately figure out for myself, is how do you become comfortable with the idea of being compensated for the work that you do, you know?
I love that question, man. And the reason that I say that is because I th- I think that it's taken me a long time to really get to the point where I have been able to value myself and my creative work and the work that I do with others.
Yeah.
Growing up, I was taught a lot of I or I learned a lot of beliefs that weren't from an abundant mind state, and I've had to do a lot of work around one, not being worthy of money in exchange for the work that I do, but also a lot of unsubconscious programming that I went through very early on, just kind of throughout my childhood, of what it means, what money means, basically. So I think that I've really had to go into my subconscious mind and start removing things that no longer served me, and whether that be through meditation exercises or affirmations or mantras to really say, hey, I am worthy, and I am worthy of financial success and abundance.
That's real. That's real. What affirmation, if you were to come up with your own affirmation, what would it be today? Like, what would be an affirmation that speaks loudest to you today?
Again, I think I want to fill into that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think as we talk about money and having an abundant mindset, I think that it's important to me right now in this very moment, is because I know as an entrepreneur, you get large sums of money, at different points in time, and our system hasn't really it hasn't trained us in a way to be fully supported in that type of system, if that makes sense. Everyone's kind of on a biweekly schedule. So I think an affirmation that I would use for today is, I'm worthy, and I put all trust into something higher than me to work out my needs.
That's real. I appreciate you sharing those.
For sure.
Do you work alone with what you're doing with your business? Like, are you working alone? Do you have a team? Are you working with people?
Yeah. So right now I would consider myself like a solopreneur. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a team at the moment. I have worked with other creatives in the past on different projects, photographers, and typically that depends on the kind of budget that we're working on, and the timeline, and what the client ultimately needs. So I think that I have access to other creatives, to one, be able to support and help build their business and bring them into projects. So in the past I have done that, but currently I'm a solopreneur. But I am also working with another agency owner who is in a similar field as and I am, at least with the people that we're looking to serve and connect with.
That's what's up. What do you think are some of the keys to successful collaboration?
So I think there's 2 points that I'd like to bring up, and I think the first one I bring up is communication. And I say that this is really important because going into any kind of collaborative project, it's important to lay out a foundation where you say, hey, like, at least in my partnerships, what I do is just talk about transparency and how it's important, and really say, hey, because we're working on this together, I am a person who can accept and receive criticism, when something is in alignment for the overall vision of the brand. So I think really establishing that through communication in the beginning is really important. But also, as we've already talked about, I like breathing with my people, because I really think that it puts us on the same frequency before we dive into a project. And I know that sounds kind of wild or crazy, but I really feel like, we're both living our own lives, and to take a few breaths with one another really just kind of puts us in the same moment in space and time together. So I would say that's two things that would lead to a successful kind of collaboration.
That's what's up. How long have you been a solo entrepreneur, or just an entrepreneur in general? How long have you been doing that?
So I started my business in 2018, late 2018, early 2019. So I would say about 3 years at this point.
Okay. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Really dope. Something that I've been kind of challenged with, and not challenged, just kind of adapting to, is creating my own schedule and managing and balancing my time. And I'm curious to know what that looks like for you, because there's some days where I feel like I want to get it all done in one day, and then there's some days where I'm just like, I may not feel it, So I'm curious to know, like, how do you balance and manage your days, and like, if you have a routine or anything, like, what does your routine look like?
Yeah. So I think routines are really important, and honestly, this is an area that I'm working on improving on. At least when it comes to making it a non-negotiable for myself. When it comes to my routine, I like to start my morning with meditation and breath, and a little bit of light yoga. I think that it really just kind of sets my day up for success. And then just spending a little bit of time outside, before really getting started. And then from that point, I kind of dive into my work and go from there. I think what I'd like to add to that, though, is I think that it is important to listen to your intuition, because there are going to be some days where you're not feeling it, right? And I think that it's important to have the discernment to know when to push through and just really just keep moving, and tap into that kind of masculine energy, and because it's important to just keep going, right? But also, I think that it is important to listen to yourself when you need rest, because a lot of the times when we force ourselves to really work on something, things can come through, but also a lot can come through simple practices, going on a walk, or having a midday meditation, things like that. So I think just listening.
It's James Woods, aka that yoga dude with feel free to feel free. I'm trying. I'm giving my best. Sometimes I feel like I'm losing, but I take a breath and I get back in there. Refocus. Release. Put my anxiety, my frustrations, and my angers and worries in one place so I can keep on moving. I'll take care of y'all later, but right now, I just need to breathe. If y'all can breathe with me, start by relaxing your shoulders. Taking a deep inhale. Then a long, slow exhale. Focusing on breathing. One breath after another. Focusing on relaxing. One part and another. Focus on releasing. Focus on calm. Focus on being. Trusting. Focus on feeling your whole mind and body react to your breath with calm and release. Let's take one more deep breath here. Breathe in. Hope you're feeling better. And as always, feel free to feel free. And namaste. Peace.
My next question, because I saw in your profile when you sent in the what you were open to talking about, cryptocurrency was one of those things that was on the list. And I'm just curious as to, how does that tie into business? Because I myself in the last year or two have been kind of getting into it a little bit, and I think I understand on a surface level what it is, but I'm not fully clear. But I'm curious to know for you, like how do you see crypto impacting business?
Yeah, so we're in a really awesome time period right now. I think with technology and the digital age and being in the information age, a lot is coming through right now. And I think that as creatives and as entrepreneurs, these are ways that we can tap into abundance to be able to support ourselves, as well as benefit others, and also create generational wealth, in addition. So I think that when it comes to crypto, it is very volatile, when it comes to, right now we're in an area where it's low, but I think that as we keep moving through this process of transitioning into this new era, I think that it's going to be something that we're all using at one point. So I think that investing right now allows us an opportunity to tap in to something that other generations weren't and didn't have access to.
Yeah. How do you know what to invest in? And I ask that because I see so many things pop up. Like I was kind of on the beginning of the Doji when all of that was happening. I also lost a lot of that what I had gained from Doji. So but I see so many things pop up, come and go. Like, how do you know which ones are valuable enough to invest in?
Yeah. So I would say that it's important to be a part of a community of people, just because I think that, there was someone that I was connected with who had a really deep knowledge, and I would listen to his advice and recommendations and also do my own research, through, the benefits of a certain kind of coin, etc. So I think it's important to do research, but also be a part of a community because, if you tap into any sort of online community that is talking about cryptocurrency or NFTs, there's usually a pretty good insight that they can provide you with, where a better investment is going to go to, so like tap into different channels on Discord, things like that.
That's real. Um, that makes me think to ask you, what is one tip that you can give to entrepreneurs right now? Something that, like, maybe a tip or a tool that you use that you benefit from that you think people could use.
Okay. I think when it comes to being an entrepreneur, the biggest part of playing this game and being successful and winning is having a mindset of success. So I think early on when I began this whole journey, I didn't really have a strong community or group of people around me to push me in the time, in the hard times, in the down times, because there have been a lot of times where I've wanted to give up. And fortunately, I've been able to connect with people who are on this similar journey. And Mike, you are one of them. But I think that it is really important to be able to have a solid support system who is really on the similar path, because if you don't, there's a high likelihood that, you'll fail because you don't have people around you to, let you know to keep going, to keep pushing, and what you're doing and the work that you're doing is valuable, and the world needs it.
Man, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that was for everybody, but
right. I feel you, man. I feel you.
All right, so now we are going to go into our segment called 5 questions of freedom, sponsored by Feel Free to Feel Free. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and you can answer them any way that you would like. So, do you prefer, this is the first one, the desert or the beach?
Desert.
Okay. I think I'm more of a beach person, but I like both. What are your thoughts? This is the second question. What are your thoughts on psychedelics?
My thoughts on psychedelics. I love this. I think that there has been a big misconception around psychedelics and, what we've all been taught to believe around them. I think that right now we're in a psychedelic renaissance. And I say that because as we move into this new era, psychedelics can be used for medicinal uses. And I think that when you go into them from a place of intent and intentionality, then it really can impact you. And especially as an entrepreneur, using these as a tool to move through barriers that you've created, I think that it allows you to go through and rewrite, programming in your unconscious mind, and release things. So
yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I was actually telling someone yesterday that when I first started exploring psychedelics for myself, there was this feeling of like seeking knowledge, and now I don't feel like I'm seeking anything, but when I do, use the medicine, I accept whatever it gives to me, as opposed to looking for anything. Because I feel like it always gives you something, but rather than looking for it, I just allow it to come to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that it's important to just allow what the medicine is helping you move through, what lessons it's allowing you to move through. But also, I think that it's important to have a balance too. When it comes to medicine, I mean, even pharmaceuticals, you're not taking it daily. There are concepts like microdosing, and I believe in benefits like that. But at least in my work with psychedelic medicine, I like to be very mindful about how I'm using them and when I'm using them, and really creating a ritual around it.
The same. Sometimes I wish I was introduced to marijuana in that way, because I do see the benefits of it. I do see the spiritual benefits from it when I take breaks from it and go back to it. But I think because of how I was introduced, it was, just so recreational that sometimes it loses that value. And maybe it doesn't lose the value that it has, but in a sense, in my life, I've abused it to where it doesn't give me so much of that spiritual experience that it does when I take breaks from it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I know in my early 20s, I really, I didn't have any boundaries when it came with, smoking weed. And I really wasn't being intentional. And this was before I even kind of embarked on the journey that I am now. But, coming from where I was and how I was using it, I was definitely using it as means of a crutch, and to self-soothe the feelings that I didn't want to feel. And now, when it comes to different types of medicine, I use it to feel through those things and to tap into them, because to me, I see it as a lesson, or as something that your soul or your higher self, or however you decide to connect with whatever it is, to keep you growing and to keep you evolving.
Yeah. Do you think there'll ever be a time where society will let down judgment of like these types of medicine? Because I think about, certain roles, like, and fuck it, I'll use myself as an example, as like being a teacher, that fear of being expressive about, I use marijuana, I use, psychedelics, and not feeling judgment, because I feel like for myself, I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, these are more beneficial in my life than drinking alcohol, and that's kind of just normalized. You know what I mean?
Hands down. Yeah, no, man. I think that I like to think that there's going to be a time period where, there will be no judgment, but I think realistically, there's always going to be something that ideas that are pushed on us, about whether something is good or bad, especially if it's beneficial. So I think that as we move through this time period that we're in, I think that there is going to be less judgment, because there already are a lot of conversations happening, and there's a lot of research happening. There's a company called MAPS who is doing a lot of research around psychedelic medicine. And as these studies go through and are discussed and talked about, then it's easier for people to say, hey, there are actual scientific benefits from, the medicinal uses of these medicines and how they can be applied. So I think it's a yes and a no. I think there is a time period where we'll be there, where people are going to be more accepting, but there also are going to be those same or different people who have really instilled beliefs around medicine and won't be open to it just because of, what we've been taught. So maybe moving forward, the younger generations, what we teach them about psychedelic medicine, hopefully we can get to that point.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, for sure.
I have two more questions.
Let's go.
Fourth one is, how connected are personal growth and growth like in business?
I would say that they're directly connected. I think without one, specifically without personal growth, I think that you are likely to either plateau or, well, I think that's the biggest thing is you're likely to plateau and not keep growing. Because if you stop growing within yourself, what is going to be that driving force, that driving energy for your business and what you're looking to create?
That's real. And the last question is a two-part question.
All right.
What is one reminder that you want to give to your future self? And what is one piece of advice that you would like to give to your younger self?
So I think I'll start with my younger self. Although I don't regret the way that I got to the place that I am today, I think that if I would have learned how to practice meditation earlier and work through those hard feelings and emotions that I was going through, I think that I'd be a lot further along. So I would tell him to start meditating. And in regards to my future self, this is a message that I'd like to leave or receive.
So maybe during the time when you need a reminder in the future, let's say like 20 years from now, and like what is something that you've learned up to this point that you will want to remind yourself? Like if you think back maybe today on something that, from your past is a reminder, to get you back on track, what is something that you would give to yourself in the future?
I would leave a reminder. It would be an affirmation, and it would be, I am worthy. And I say that because for a long time I've struggled in the past. I would say that I struggled with self-worth and being worthy of success, love, friendships, whatever it may be. So I think that if there's still those somehow that's still like lingering in my future self, just for him to remember that he's worthy.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate you sharing that. Jeremiah, where can the people find you?
Yeah, so I am online. My website is ascension.com. I'm going to break that down because it's a little hard to spell. It's ASCNSN.com. You can find me there. You can check out my work, see a little bit of my portfolio. Also, I have an area where you can support me through my art and merchandise as well. And connect with me through there. Send me an email. I'd be happy to, chop it up with any of you.
Man, Jeremiah, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank y'all for listening. This is Mike Brown, and this is The Art of Letting Go. Peace. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of The Art of Letting Go. If you like what you heard, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to the podcast. Also, leave a review. Let people know what you think. Let me know what you think. I love to hear from y'all. Also, if you would like to further support the show, we do have a Patreon where you can subscribe for as low as $3 a month. So you'll get exclusive episodes, exclusive content. I share some of the music I'm listening to, some of the music I'm making, unreleased episodes, all kind of really cool stuff. Also, if you would like some merch All the merch is available at theartoflettinggopodcast.com. Also, send me a question. You know, we have the segment Ask Me a Question where you guys can ask me anything that you want for the podcast. You can send that in on the website. And if you want to be a guest, that's available as well. Thank y'all again for tuning in. This is Mike Brown, and this is The Art of Letting Go. Peace.